Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. The music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado restaurant and beach club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night. Beautiful colors are during the day in its grand splendor for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand, right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week we are going to get us some insurance. That's right, traveler's insurance. For vacationers, we're going to get some health and property insurance for folks that are living in and around Puerto Vallarta. What do you think about COVID coverage? Yep, we're going to talk about that too with our upcoming guest. His name is Brett Lamar. He is an insurance broker from the United States who lives in Puerto Vallarta. But before we get to Brett, let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 21st of March, 2021. I got a message from my buddy Bill, who gave me heads up. He gave me a bit of bad news about an all-time favorite, calling it quits. That's right, El Torito, over in the Emiliano Zapata neighborhood of Puerto Vallarta, after 38 years, is hanging up their bowl. That's right. They're over on the corner of, or they were on Venustiano Carranza and Ignacio Vallarta. And they are going to be keeping their Marina Vallarta location open. So when you need that rib and sports combination, you just got to head over to the Marina, I guess. But wow, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've had a lot of fun times in that place. The 80s, that was the happening spot. Actually, the food was consumed upstairs. They would take you up there. That's where they had the seating for the restaurant, and downstairs, the cantina and the dance floor, and it was just, a disco. It was hopping and bopping. Always had a line to get inside. And of course, over the years, El Torito morphed into more of a sports bar. And lately, of course, with this pandemic, it's impossible to keep a place as big as El Torito's open and running, and everybody working there. So, I don't know, that corner, who knows? What do you think, condo? Who knows what's going to happen there? But Felix and family, best of luck to you, and we'll see you in Marina Vallarta, brother. Now the airport. Puerto Vallarta Airport was closed for a couple hours the other day. Flights were diverted to Guadalajara and elsewhere as an airplane had some major technical difficulties before takeoff. Here's the story from Mexico News Daily. Let's see, dated Friday, March 19th, 2021. A Viva Airbus aircraft lining up to take off from Puerto Vallarta International Airport Thursday afternoon sustained a nose gear collapse, forcing the airport to close temporarily while the maintenance check was conducted on the plane. None of the 127 passengers and crew on board of the Flight 4343, which was bound for Monterrey, Nuevo León, was hurt, the airline said. In accordance with the airline safety policies, all were evacuated via slides. That must have been a lot of fun. The passengers were transferred to another flight to Monterrey. It was the first landing gear failure in the Discount Airlines operating history, according to aviation publication Aerotime Hub. The nose gear collapse occurred as the Airbus A320 was backtracking on the runway in preparation for takeoff and made a 180-degree turn to line up, according to Aviation Herald. The Mexican airline based out of Monterrey uses 43 Airbus A320 airplanes that have an average of 4.5 years of service in Viva Aerobus's fleet, according to Aerotime Hub, which also said the aircraft in question was 15 years old. We regret the inconvenience that this incident has caused and reaffirm our commitment to security on each of our flights. Our company's number one priority, Viva Aerobus officials said in a statement on Thursday, and I have a link to that article in the show notes. Sounds like they made a tight turn and buckled that sucker in front. Nasty. Anyway, that's all cleaned up. Don't hesitate. Come on down, okay? Nobody hurt. Nobody injured. Just, fun little rides down a slide, a chute. Have you ever been down one of those? That can't be any fun. I've been getting emails from a lot of you guys who have been taking the plunge. Have you been going down to Puerto Vallarta during the pandemic? Good for you. Yay. I'm really happy to see you guys getting down and helping the local economy while also helping yourselves to a little R&R. This is a crazy world. We need to get a little bit of rest and relaxation and unwind and enjoy some Puerto Vallarta. So keep those emails coming. I love getting pictures of you guys sitting on the beach, sipping your margaritas, your umbrella drinks. It's great. Keep them coming. And actually, with that in mind, I have this article here from Vallarta Today, which reads, people are coming to Puerto Vallarta. Yes, they are. It is very noticeable that in the last few weeks, foreign tourists have been arriving to this port and have been on the beaches. They've been seen shopping in shopping centers as well as in restaurants of the city since their arrival has been increasing. Some causes have been that the vaccination process in the countries has been very significant, which has given them confidence to travel and return enjoying the activities offered by this tourist destination. Another important factor is the reactivation of the connectivity of new flights that will be arriving starting March the 11th. Luis Villaseñor Nolasco, acting director of the Public Trust for Tourism Promotion and Publicity in Puerto Vallarta, informed that the destination will have flights from Santa Ana, California, Denver, Colorado, and Las Vegas, Nevada. Starting this Thursday, March 11th, flights from Santa Ana and Denver will be operated by Southwest Airlines, and flights from Las Vegas will be operated by Frontier Airlines starting next Thursday, March 25th. The recovery of these flights is very positive, a very positive message for the local tourism sector, and also as a country that Puerto Vallarta and Mexico continue to take firm steps in their economic reactivation and their reinstatement of connectivity. This speaks volumes of the confidence that North American airlines have to fly and return with routes to our country as part of the restructuring that the airlines are having, pointed out the interim director of Trust for the Promotion of Tourism in Puerto Vallarta. It is worth mentioning that 50% of the passengers arriving in Vallarta come from the state of California. What do you know? This state is being the main outbound market, led by passengers from Los Angeles, second only to San Francisco and San Diego, and will represent good expectations for the tourism sector of Puerto Vallarta. Thus, during this month of March, the international airport of Puerto Vallarta could surpass a arrival of 1,400 national and international flights to this beach tourist destination. And that's great news, and I have a link to that article from Vallarta Today in the show notes. And I actually, in the next week or two, I'm going to be having an interview with a couple of folks from Vallarta today. And you're going to meet these people, and you're going to really, really like this interview. It's going to be a real treat. Now, we've talked about COVID tests quite a bit on this show, and I found this article in Mexico News Daily, which they actually pulled from El Universal. It reads, concerns raised over fake COVID tests, lack of standardized controls, fake test results are being sold to international travelers, association warns, and this is from March 19th, 2021. An association of private medical laboratories has called on the federal government to crack down on companies and people selling fake COVID-19 test results to international travelers. The Mexican Council of Medical Diagnosis Companies, COMED, said fake test results are being sold in hotels and airports and called on the health regulator to identify and sanction those guilty of this practice. A negative test result is required to travel to various countries, including the United States and Canada. Fake test results are easily detected, and those responsible for issuing them must be sanctioned immediately. People traveling internationally can and must do legal tests performed by authorized and serious laboratories that provide services to airports and hotels, COMED said. This illegal trafficking of fake results only promotes greater spread of the virus at a time of serious health emergency and the appearance of new variants of SARS-CoV-2. COMED also called on the government to work with social media companies to identify people selling and buying fake COVID test results online. Daniel Uribe, CEO of Geniobank IO, a company that provides secure digital wallets to store DNA data, told the newspaper El Universal that security features on COVID test results issued by the government and authorized labs should be increased to avoid falsification. He said test results should have QR codes that allow them to be certified, explaining that would avoid fraud by phony laboratories, and everyday citizens won't be able to falsify these results. There are people who sell tests with false negatives. That's why it's important to improve security features on the results of diagnostic tests, Uribe said. He also said that unreliable COVID-19 testing kits are sold on the black market, and they are a concern in both Mexico and the United States. Guillermo Maínez Gil, general director of COMED, said that 8 laboratories are already using blockchain technology to ensure that their COVID test results are not vulnerable to falsification or other illegal practices. There are 129 laboratories, hospitals, and research centers with federal government authorization to conduct COVID tests, but there is a lack of effective regulation of testing in Mexico. El Universal reported that there are no standardized testing controls in Mexico's main tourism destinations. The airports and hotels choose the laboratories with which they work, and in all cases, it's said that they're certified by health authorities. However, there is not a regulator at a national level that supervises the tests that are applied to tourists, said the newspaper, which spoke with authorities in Oaxaca City, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta, and Acapulco. It noted that a laboratory in Cancun, where a group of Argentine tourists were supposedly tested, was shut down by Quintana Roo authorities on Thursday. Many of the tourists tested positive for COVID in Argentina after traveling home with negative COVID results provided by the now shuttered lab. Deputy Health Minister Hugo Lopez-Gatell said Monday that the lab Marbu Salud wasn't authorized to perform COVID tests. El Universal said that about 80 hotels in Los Cabos have their own testing stations where antigen rapid tests are performed, whereas tourists in Oaxaca City that need a negative COVID test result in order to travel home have to seek out testing locations on their own. However, there is no official list of authorized labs in Oaxaca where foreigners can get tested, the newspaper said. Lizizi Orsi, president of Los Cabos Hotel Association, said hotels in that destination are working with authorized labs, noting that international guests are normally tested 2 days before their return flights. El Universal was not able to verify whether or not those claims that the hotel is working with authorized labs. In Puerto Vallarta, 16 hotels offer free antigen tests, and 32 offer antigen and PCR testing at special prices, El Universal said. That city's tourism trust has also published a list of authorized COVID testing providers. COVID-19 tests are also performed by authorized providers at many airports across the country, including those located in Oaxaca, Los Cabos, Puerto Vallarta, Acapulco, and Mexico City. And I have a link to this article from El Universal in the show notes. And of course, I also have a list of these providers in my show notes from a couple of weeks back. You can always find them there. And I always suggest that you get your test done at the airport. It's cheap. If you're flying back to the United States, make sure you take the antigen test. You will get the results back usually within an hour. Go 2 days before you come back and get that test. They will email you the results. It's like $25 US to take that antigen test. And if for any reason you fail that test, and in other words, if it comes back positive, you've got yourself another couple of days to go get retested somewhere else so you can get yourself a negative test. Anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Have you ever seen the little vendor on the beach over near Los Muertos Pier? He looks like he has no legs. Little man. His name is Luis, and Luis has thyroid cancer. And I got a note from my buddy Renee, and she let me know that there's a GoFundMe page that was set up for Luis. Let me read from the GoFundMe post here. It says, "Help Luis beat thyroid cancer." And there's a picture of Luis, and I have a picture of him in my show notes. You can check it out. I also have a link to this GoFundMe, so when I'm done with all this, go check that out. Anyway, this is Luis. He is a remarkable young man with a wife and 2 kids. He lives in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where my husband and I met him selling scarves on the beach. He has become part of our family, and his kids are like grandchildren to us. He was diagnosed with thyroid cancer last week, and he's scheduled for thyroidectomy on Saturday, March 13th, so it's already happened, 2021. He must raise 100,000 pesos, about 6,500 Canadian dollarettes, before he can have surgery. Mexico does not have GoFundMe, so I am doing this on Luis's behalf. I've set up a goal at 10,000 Canadian, and he will not likely be able to work as he undergoes the follow-up treatment. So any amount that you can donate would be gratefully appreciated. Below is a note that I received from Luis when he came home from the oncologist, and I'll read it. It says, "Hello, friend. I'm going to have surgery on Saturday. They're going to remove the thyroid tumor. They will remove the entire gland and some ganglios. Fortunately, it would be detected in time, and now I need to raise money for my surgery on Saturday. The surgery will cost 60,000 pesos, and the hospital intensive care will be 40,000 pesos, which is a total of 100,000 pesos. It's what I need to raise for my surgery. Whoever likes to help, I would thank them with all my heart. I have many dreams to realize, and I don't want to die. I have one reason to stay alive, my family. And for them, I will fight, and I will be cured, thanks to God. Excellent cancer prognosis, but even so, it has to be removed so it does not advance. So please help me. You are my angels, and God wants that I will have my surgery on Saturday. Thank you very much to all of my friends. I love you. And I am very happy to post an update here from March 17th, 2021 by organizer Vicky. She writes, hello, friends and donors to Luis. I know I shared this information at the beginning of the campaign and have been sharing updates, but however, GoFundMe wishes me to share it again. So as many of you know, my husband David and I have been close to Luis and his family since 2014. Litzy was just a baby when we fell in love with Luis and his spirit. We consider them to be a part of our family, despite the lack of blood relationship. Since GoFundMe is not available in Mexico, I set up this for Luis, and all the funds raised will be funneled through my Canadian bank account to Luis via deposits to his Bancomer account. He has already received the first 3,000 Canadian dollars, which he used to pay today for part of his hospital stay, and I will continue to transfer 3,000 Canadian every 24 hours, which is the limit of my account, until all the funds provided by all the donors reach him. As Luis is now out of the hospital and the fundraiser was such a success, I will be closing the fundraiser at 6 p.m. March 18th, 2021, Pacific Standard Time. No further donations will be possible after that time. Once again, I want to thank you for helping this young man get the medical care he needed without the worry of supporting his family while he recuperates. Signed, Vicky. So this is wonderful news. Let's keep Luis in your thoughts and in your prayers as he makes his recovery. Let's hope that this is a full recovery and we'll see him on the beach again real soon. And thank you so much, Vicky and Vicky's family and the entire Vallarta family. Wow. It's amazing to, anyway. It's great. It's just great what you've done for Luis. Now, if you think that there are problems all around the world getting people to take the jab, it's no different in Mexico. Here's an article to prove what I'm talking about from Mexico News Daily. It reads, whole towns are refusing the COVID-19 vaccines in Mexico. For Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador, vaccinating all Mexicans is a matter of responsible national health policy as well as social justice. Vaccines will start arriving little by little, he said February 15th during his daily morning press conference, a week after returning to public activities after contracting COVID-19 himself. Today, we launched our vaccination plan, and it won't stop. We will press ahead with the goal of vaccinating all the people according to the pre-established priorities, Obrador added. But there are already clear signs that not every Mexican is ready or willing to get the shot in the arm. In Aldama, a small town of 7,000 located in the central highlands of the southern Mexican state of Chiapas, some people say they are not going to get vaccinated regardless of any vaccine plan, where the vaccine comes from. Why would I get vaccinated? I'm not sick. It wouldn't be good if they tried to force us to get vaccinated. I don't know, said Maria Magdalena Lopez Santos, an Aldama resident, to CNN in broken Spanish. Indigenous communities like Aldama have a history of mistrust toward the federal government. In best cases, community leaders say they have been ignored. In the worst cases, they've been subjected to land grabs, discrimination, abuse, and attacks. This time it seems a lack of information and conspiracy theories have spread in the region like wildfire, and they're to blame for vaccine hesitancy. Thomas Lopez Perez, Aldama's town secretary, told CNN that people there, including himself, strongly believe vaccines can do more harm than good. People are not well informed regarding this. Since we don't really know what vaccines are made of, we believe that they contain the COVID-19 virus, and that's the main reason why people don't want to get vaccinated, Lopez said. Since many people in these towns communicate in their native dialects, government information about its COVID-19 pandemic strategy gets in many cases lost in the translation. But in a way, Aldama has also been fortunate. Its residents, mainly Totsi Mayans, rarely travel to big cities, and very few people ever visit, sparing the town of the worst of the pandemic, and meaning that many residents don't need to be vaccinated. Local officials proudly assert that no one here has been infected by coronavirus, though health officials could not confirm that claim. Nevertheless, the town did shut down for several months. At the same time, the federal government imposed restrictions throughout the country. Adolfo Victorio Lopez Gomez, Aldama's town mayor, told CNN he also credits traditional medicine for the low impact of COVID-19 on the town and trusts its efficacy. Fortunately, we have our ancestral way of thinking regarding traditional medicine, and we asked our grandparents and great-grandparents for guidance, and that helped us a lot, Lopez said. Indigenous towns like Aldama are autonomous. The Mexican Constitution allows towns like these to rule themselves under the principle of traditions and customs. As of 2018, there were 421 municipalities in Mexico with this designation out of a total of 2,469, 17%. And it is not the only town in southern Mexico where people are refusing to get vaccinated. Early this month, Jose Lopez, mayor of San Juan Canuc, another indigenous town located in the Chiapas Central Highlands, sent state health authorities a letter informing them of his municipality's decision to refuse any vaccine. In the letter, Lopez writes that the municipality of 24,000, composed of 45 communities, held a meeting in late January in which the town elders decided that the vaccination campaign will not be allowed. The letter also talks about benefits and possible adverse effects of the vaccine. The Chiapas State Health Department responded that it respects the autonomy of the original populations, although officials insisted that they will continue to promote dialogue with those communities for the sake of everybody's health. In other words, they're going to push and push and push. Chiapas Governor Rutilio Escandon has recently focused on discrediting conspiracy theories and falsehoods about the COVID-19 vaccine. I ask the people of Chiapas not to fall prey to the lies of those trying to take advantage of a health emergency, those who are selling vaccines on social media. Vaccines are not privately available. They are free and they will be available to everybody, Escandon said on Twitter. Asked specifically about Chiapas indigenous communities' refusal to vaccinate during his morning daily press conference, President López Obrador emphasized that no one will be forced to take the coronavirus vaccine. Everything is voluntary, the president said. I repeat, nothing by force, but everything by reason and rights. We must convince, persuade, inform, orient, make aware, without imposing anything. And how about that? Anyway, I have a link to that article in the show notes. So there, I mean, in the United States, we are not the only ones who are going, I don't want to take this jab. I got this great email from listener Marty about flying out of Tijuana. I'm wondering if any of you out there have actually flown out of Tijuana during the pandemic. And if you have, I have a couple questions for you. But anyway, here is Marty's email. He writes, I check flight information every day from ORD to PVR. For quite a while, the round-trip pricing nonstop is about $900 U.S. per person. To say that United and American are proud of their planes is an understatement. Then I remembered you took a flight. Okay, you had some issues, but you took a flight from Tijuana to Puerto Vallarta. Believe it or not, I can fly nonstop from ORD to San Diego for $49, and then I can fly from Tijuana to Puerto Vallarta for $54. Now, what's wrong with this? I get to San Diego at 9:50 in the morning. The flight leaving Tijuana is either at 1:20 p.m. or 3:45 p.m. with a 20-minute bus ride. Am I missing something? So I respond, and then so he also came back with another email and said that there were baggage charges that were almost as much as the plane ride, but still, that's a cheap airfare. So anyway, my question is this: if you're traveling, let's say you're traveling from point A to point B in Mexico, if you don't require a PCR test, right, or an antigen test. So let's say you fly from Puerto Vallarta to Tijuana, and then you walk across the border into California. The question is, do you need a test if you do that? Now, I'm kind of tempted to see if just to try this out, just to see if this works, or to see how it works. But if any of you have attempted this, or if any of you have tried this, send me an email. I want to hear about it. All right, now, Patsari stoves. We've almost talked about this the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to talk about it again. Next week, we're going to talk about the Estufa Patsari next week, I promise. Let's get to the interview, okay? All right. It's been a while since we've had someone on the show talk about insurance in Mexico. Now, with the current health crisis gripping the planet, the pandemic has made people more aware and, take a second look at health insurance and at traveler's insurance in particular. So I thought it would be a great idea to bring another voice to talk about traveler's insurance and also talk about long-term and short-term insurance for expats, particularly people who are looking for international health care plans or, plans to cover your cars and stuff like that. So I thought that today I would introduce you to my friend Brett Lamar. Brett is an American expat. In fact, the day that I met with Brett was the birthday of the United States Marine Corps, and I learned that Brett actually was a Marine, or I guess is a Marine. I don't know. How does that go? Anyway, once a Marine, always a Marine. Anyways, Brett has a great story, and he'll be telling you about that shortly. And part of that story is his current business, and that's why we've got him on the show. He has expat insurance with We Expats, and his company is Novamar Insurance Company. And anyway, let's go right now. Let's go to one of my favorite restaurants in Puerto Vallarta. It's on the corner of Lazaro Cardenas and Constitucion. It's restaurant San Lucas. And we're going to go on the roof and have a little bit of margarita and some guacamole and some chips. And let's meet this insurance dude, Brett Lamar, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Brett, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for inviting me. Pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and what was your path that led you to Puerto Vallarta?
Well, I'm from all over the world, actually, but originally born in Medina, Ohio, which is a little suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. But my travels have taken me all over the world, all over the globe, and landing me here in Puerto Vallarta about 5.5 years ago.
Excellent. Had you visited Puerto Vallarta before you decided that you were just going to land here?
I had. My wife, previously to me, came here many, many times, and then she finally invited me down because she used to come down here with her friends for random trips about once a year for about 3 years, and then she says, you got to come down here to Puerto Vallarta and see this side of Mexico, because when my wife and I would vacation, we would primarily go to like the Yucatan Peninsula, to Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and the Riviera Maya there. So she says, you got to see the Pacific coast of Mexico, and finally took her up on that offer.
Okay, all right. So now you, What was this? What was the transition like? I mean, you left you left the States to move down here. What was that like? Did you do what everybody else does and had a big, huge fire sale and sell everything you own and pack your bags and put everything in 3 suitcases and come down here? What'd you do?
Well, ultimately, that's what ended up happening. But before that, we wanted to make sure that this was going to be the place that we were going to want to live. So, we took a couple vacations. We had a timeshare in Cancun to where we traded to stay here in Puerto Vallarta, primarily Nuevo Vallarta. Uh-huh. But, we got out of our comfort zone of the all-inclusive resorts and rented a car. And we traveled all up and down the coast here from Nuevo down to Vallarta, down to the South Shore like Mismaloya, Boca de Tamatlan, and, really got a feel for the area. And then it just came to the point to where the winters just kept getting longer in Colorado because we were living in Denver, Colorado prior to moving down here. And the winters were just getting too long, and the traffic was just becoming a nightmare. Everything, when you're working independently and you're making the same dollars that you can make in the United States and Mexico, the dollar is just stretched so much further. And we finally ultimately made that decision to dive off the deep end and come full in to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And we moved here, I believe it was June 20th is when we moved here. And we said, if we're going to do Vallarta, we're going to move here at the start of the hot and sweaty season, because if we can make it through that, then we can make it all season.
And were you surprised? Did you make it? Obviously you did,
obviously we
didn't
made
melt.
it. Obviously we made it. It took a little bit of getting our feet wet because being on vacation and living here is just two very, very different views of Vallarta. Yeah. So we started off, renting an Airbnb, and we were staying in Cinco de Diciembre for about 3 months. And then Cinco just wasn't for us. It was too much bus traffic, and we ended up finding out that our Airbnb was directly next door to a school, elementary school, that had 2 sessions per day.
Oh, yeah.
And band practice that would start at 7 a.m. in the morning. So we were just like, this isn't going to work for us. So then we ventured off to the hotel zone, and we rented a condo in the hotel zone, beachfront, and stayed there for about a year until we're like, you know what, Vallarta is going to become our new home and at least our new base because we do love and have a passion for travel. And we decided to start looking at real estate to stay here long term and get into the market before we knew the explosion that was going to start happening. So about a year after renting, year and 3 months, we found a home up in Amapas, and that's where we still reside today after 5 years.
Nice. All right, so when you got here and you finally, settled on down, obviously you are a young man. You are not retirement age. I'm taking a look at you right now. If you want to look and see what Brett looks like, you can go to Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. You can go to www.puertovallartatravelshow.com, and I'll have his smiling face there so you can see that, yeah, he's not of a retirement age. So what are you doing?
Well, my wife and I ran a tech company, since the late 90s, right when the tech boom came up. And we were in that market for about 20 years. So our coming to Vallarta was to retire because we were able to sell that company. And we knew it. Well, the sale didn't come until after we moved to Vallarta, but we knew that we were going to transition into selling the company and move into some sort of a retirement.
Okay.
So we did end up selling the company, and we were retiring, and that just was not good for me at all. Like you said, I'm like, wow, this is happening a little too soon, and I have a little too much time on my hands, and golfing every day doesn't seem like something I'm going to do, and going to the beach every day doesn't seem like something I'm going to do, and having time down here in Vallarta is just something that isn't good for some people, and that some person was me. So I needed to find something else to do because I just have that A-type personality that I need to be preoccupied with something. So I started exploring my options, and never had written a resume in my life, and never knew what I looked like on paper because I was always an entrepreneur and ran my own companies. So I got my resume together and started putting it out there on the remote job sites because I did want something remote. I wanted something I could do, possibly from my home, definitely here in Vallarta, and also something that I could do as I travel as well, because I don't want to be locked into a schedule or locked into going to an office or punching a clock, because it was never something I ever done in my life. And fortunately enough, after some time, I was contacted by a company out of San Miguel called Expats, and went through a pretty extensive interview process. And one of the requirements that they like to see is that you are an expat living abroad, because it is a company made up of all of expats. And they want to see that you've kind of had some exposures to some different countries. And being that my wife and I had previously lived in Bangkok, Thailand for 3 years, and now Vallarta for over a year, that was something that could provide a lot of relation with the clients. And they hired me and put me through a training process and licensing process. And here I am, almost 2 years later, as a broker working in Puerto Vallarta as an insurance broker. Never in a million years did I see this on my radar.
Yeah, wow. All right. Well, there you go. And this is what happens, kind of organically. If you kind of make that decision and you're not, going to be sitting in a bar for your entire life when you finally arrive here in Puerto Vallarta. You got to have something to do. And right now, of course, it's really important for people that are traveling to Puerto Vallarta. They are very interested in insurance, especially health insurance, and especially with this COVID thing. We'll talk a little bit about that as we go on. But what are the top questions that you get, as an insurance broker? What are most of your requests? I mean, what are they like?
I'd have to say, dealing with the expat community, most people that I'm dealing with are at the retirement age. So the top question I get asked is, from U.S. citizens is, will my Medicare work here? And the question is absolutely no. Medicare Part A and Part B does not cross borders. It's only for use in the United States. So the only type of affiliation with Medicare that could possibly work here would be your Medicare supplements or your Medicare Advantage plans. But those are to be discussed, with a broker back in the United States that directly works with Medicare, because you need to ask the person that you bought those policies from. Secondly, it would be, I'd have to say, is pre-existing conditions. How are pre-existing conditions handled? And I would have to say that the easiest way for somebody from the U.S. to understand how pre-existing conditions are handled is the exact same way they were pre-Affordable Health Care Act. So they're looked at, they're underwritten. There's a possibility that they could be excluded from coverage. There's a possibility that they could absolutely downright deny you for coverage for some particular pre-existing conditions. Or they could be restricted with a deductible load of some sort, to where for that specific pre-existing condition, they just tack on an additional deductible specific to that condition. But for the Canadian expats that are coming down here, they're so used to a healthcare system that is ran by their provincial healthcare, to where they've really never had to pay for private healthcare before. So this is a whole new ballgame for them. And, the whole insurance process pretty much needs to be explained on how does a deductible work? Is there co-pays? Can I pay annually? Can I pay quarterly, monthly, semi-annual? That just the whole insurance spectrum needs to be explained, because it's just a whole new system. And then I would say a lot of people are just like, what are the different types of insurances? We have short-term travel medical policies for people that are coming to Vallarta or Mexico for less than 180 days, which those are a great fit for. Or if you're here for over 180 days, then you qualify for an international policy that is an annual policy, similar to a major medical high deductible policy. And those are pretty much the top 3 questions that I would get asked from the Canadian and the U.S. expats that are looking to come to Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let's talk a little bit. Let's go over into the new world we're in here. Let's talk about the COVID coverage.
Yeah.
When, let's just say, a perfectly healthy American, I guess Canadian too, right? They're going to be covered the same way.
Absolutely.
Comes and wants to come to Puerto Vallarta, stay here for 14 days. Let's just say, just like anywhere from a week to 14 days, like a regular vacation. What kind of coverage is offered now, including this COVID?
Well, COVID sure put it just came out of nowhere, and really the insurance market had to readjust, because most all travel, medical, and long-term major medical policies have a pandemic and an epidemic exclusion in their policies and their conditions of coverage. But many, if not the majority of all insurers, have came around to where they're all providing COVID coverage, to where they've came and said that they're making an exception to their exclusion to include COVID-19 at the full benefits of the policy. So for somebody that's coming down on just a typical 2-week, 1-month vacation, even as short as 7 days, as long as it is a minimum of a 5-day stay, we can provide short-term travel medical policies that do cover COVID-19 at the full benefits of the policy.
Now, these policies are all affected by age. Is there a cutoff?
As far as the short-term travel medical policies, they will insure all the way up till you could be 90 years old and still get a short-term travel medical. What happens is the older you get, the maximum limit of the benefit is limited. For example, most short-term travel medicals have between $50,000 as a minimum in coverage, up to $1 million in coverage. So after the age of 70, it's possible that a 70-plus-year-old can only get $100,000 worth of coverage. Now, that's specific to majority of the companies, but we do have others specifically for people from the United States. If you carry Medicare, which everybody after the age of 65 has, or if you carry a private policy back in the United States, depending on your zip code, we have policies that will cover all pre-existing conditions. We have policies for COVID-19 and have the direct billing arrangements with the hospital, so nothing comes out of your pocket beyond the deductible for hospitalizations that result in an admission of over 24 hours.
Now, a lot of these hospitals, they require that you hand over your credit card when they're admitting you. With your policy, is that the same?
Well, the standard practice of what is it like when I arrive at a hospital in Puerto Vallarta, basically, you're going to be arriving in 2 different scenarios. Emergency, to where they need to stabilize you immediately, or you're going in there for, I fell down and I broke my hip. I have dengue fever. I think I have COVID. To where it's not an immediate scenario, but it's definitely you need to be treated. So if you're going in there in an emergency type situation to where you need to be stabilized, they're going to bring you to stabilization. And then after you're stabilized, you're going to be visited by the international billing department from the hospital. And they're going to ask you 2 questions. They're going to ask you, do you have insurance, or how are you going to pay if you do not have insurance? If you have insurance, you'll then give the international billing department your insurance information, and then they're going to verify with the insurance company what your coverage is, and if you have any co-pays or if you have any deductibles. If you have any deductible or if you have a copay, And the estimated cost of that hospitalization, they think, is going to go over that. They're going to get a hold on your credit card or cash for that deductible or that copay, and then they're going to administer services for whatever illness you may have or medical emergency you may have. But if you're just going in there for a non-emergency type situation, then again, you're going to have to see the International Billing Department, and they're going to verify your coverage and then collect whatever they think of that deductible that needs to be satisfied for you to have that service provided. But if you do not have insurance, then yes, the typical hold on a credit card in any private hospital in Puerto Vallarta is usually $3,000 US is a typical hold on a credit card if you do not have insurance.
Okay. All right. So keep that in mind.
It's bus traffic in PV.
I love it. Yeah. Keep that in mind, you guys. We talk about it all the time. A little bit of coverage, it will go a long way to protect you. All right. So that's traveler's insurance. When somebody comes here and let's say that they have decided they're going to live here and they are, I don't know, maybe, okay, let's just say they're retirement age. Let's just say that they do have some sort of Medicare Advantage kind of thing, little extra add-ons to their Medicare. What do you suggest that they have?
Are you talking for people that are residing here permanently over 6 months?
Yeah.
What I would recommend is an international policy that's written specifically for expats. There's numerous providers that we work with out there, or we call them insurers. And coming to a broker, you pay no more than you would going directly to the insurance company. The insurance companies basically use us as their advertising tool. So you get the exact same rate going directly to the insurance company as you do going to a broker. And that's a big myth that a lot of people think. They think by using a broker that they're going to pay more. And it's actually no. You're getting an a la carte service to where we're able to present you multiple different companies so you can compare benefits, compare costs. And also you're getting a kind of concierge type service to where we're there with you all the way through the policy as long as you hold it, to help negotiate claims, to help negotiate pre-authorizations, to help negotiate direct billing arrangements, do translation services for you, and all that. So that would be a major medical international expat policy. And the only requirement for that is that you be outside of your home country of passport for at least 180 days during your policy year. It's not by the calendar year, and it doesn't have to be consecutive. Mm-hmm. It can be cumulative through the policy year of 180 days outside of your home country of passport. Some of the companies require you to at least have a permanent or a temporary resident card, while others just require a foreign address. And it's just specific to that country. And like I said, I always send all of my potential clients a discovery email so I can get a little background information out of you.
Yeah.
And then that helps me direct you in the path to the right companies I can present in front of you.
Excellent. Great. Okay. So we're talking 180 days. I think most travelers, at least the snowbirds, they're usually not here more than 6 months, are they?
I would say there's a lot of people that do the 7 months because a lot of the Canadians come down per their province. Each province has a different restriction on how long they can be out of country before they lose their provincial coverage. And many of them allow them to stay out of the country for more than 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Also, a big benefit to the Canadians is majority of these policies are worldwide coverage, excluding the United States. So most all of the international policies are including or excluding the United States. And like I said, most of them cover you worldwide. So what does that do for you as well? You now have a private health insurance policy back in Canada as well that gets you faster to the front of the line, that gets you maybe to see a doctor that you couldn't see through the provincial plan, or maybe you want to go to a different province to seek better care at a different place. So that's a big benefit to these international policies. And also for the people that maybe want to go to Europe, or they want to go to Southeast Asia or somewhere in South America, your policy travels with you. So you don't have to pull travel policies out for those other trips that you might take, as long as you are outside of your home country for that 180 days.
Very interesting. Okay, cool. You do also cover things like boats and homes and things like that. You work with people in that, or are you mostly into the healthcare industry?
I specifically just do life and health insurance. I have colleagues that I work with very closely that I recommend for. It's basically called P&C. P&C would be home, condo insurance, auto insurance, boat insurance. We even have insurance policies that I call it scalpel tourism. People that are coming down here just for a medical surgery. There's even policies for that. But those I refer to my colleagues that are Mexican nationals, because to sell P&C insurance in the country of Mexico, you have to be a Mexican national. So I refer all those out to my colleagues that are Mexican nationals.
Okay, excellent. All right. All right, now, have I missed anything that you think that we should cover or we should talk about before we get into my bonus round?
I would have to say that the only thing that we haven't touched on, we did the short-term travel medical policies. We talked about the major medical policies. The one other type of insurance that I do represent is medical evacuation. Medical evacuation is if you can't afford insurance, or you're just completely priced out of it, it's definitely a good backup option. It's one you still have to pay for all of your stabilization out of pocket, but there is high probabilities if you're needing ongoing care, or if you're needing just to have something, a major surgery back in your home country, to where you actually do have an insurance policy, such as your provincial plan or such as Medicare or a private policy back in your home country. There is a possibility that you could be medically evacuated, whether it be with a medical companion on a commercial flight or on an air ambulance. So that is one of the other options that we do have, and they're very, very affordable.
Okay. All right. Well, when you say very, very affordable, what are you talking about?
If you're over the age of 75, you're looking at about right around $1,000 a year. If you're under the age of 75, you're looking at right around the $500, $600 range.
Right. And this is for people that are living here, right? That are spending a lot of time here, or is it just anybody? I mean, you're saying for a year. I mean, well, is there can you get it for a month at a time or a week at a time?
It's just like the medical insurance. We have you can buy it by the day, minimum 5 days. You can buy the expatriate plans, which are people that are here for 6 months or more, or it's a weird name that they have for it. It's an annual plan, but the annual plan is for people that are not here for 6 months or more. But it ends up being cheaper than if you would have purchased it by the day. So they're for anybody as well.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, that covers it. If anything pops in your mind, while we're in the bonus round, you just let me know.
Got it.
However, I'll ask you, do you have a favorite hospital here in Puerto Vallarta?
Ooh.
You can say no.
I can't be biased.
Okay. All right. So that's yes, but he's not going to tell us. All right.
I'll tell you all the hospitals that we like to work with, and that is Hospital Hoya, formerly known as San Javier, San Marais, CMQ. There's 3 of them. Medicist, Vallarta Medical Center, and Punta Ramita Hospital. So I think I've covered them all.
Excellent. All right, there you go. You nailed it. All right. So take note, everyone. Okay. All right, so we're gonna leave insurance for just a few minutes here. We're gonna move into the bonus round. This is the round where everybody just gets out their pads of paper and starts writing. So what I want to know from you is, what are your favorite places to eat in Puerto Vallarta? We ask you your favorite breakfast, lunch, and dinner places. And you can give me more than one if you want. And also, if you got maybe like a little hole in the wall place that nobody would ever think about even walking into, but it would kind of like blow their socks off. You got anything like that?
Oh boy, this is one of the hardest questions I ever get asked. Is like where I like to eat, because it usually depends on the day. Because as you know, there's just so many choices. Can we go by a little bit of cuisine?
Go for it, man.
So, mariscos, which is seafood. I would have to say my favorite place that is getting discovered more and more is Los Lirios on Aguacate. It's just one block off of the main strip here, Basilibadillo on Aguacate. I would have to say that is my absolute favorite seafood place to go.
What do you get when you go there?
What do I get when I go there? I love their shrimp empanadas. And if you ever go there, it's a secret sauce that they don't typically always bring out. You have to ask for their tomatilla salsa. And it's a verde green salsa made from the tomatillo, which is the small green tomatoes. It is out of this world dynamite. So the shrimp empanadas, also their seafood soup is the sopa de mariscos is fantastic. And just the shrimp tacos, a simple shrimp or fish taco. It's out of this world. I think that is the best seafood.
All right.
Let's see. If I'm going for carnitas for a breakfast taco, everybody, before I moved to Vallarta, I thought carnitas was a something you would eat for lunch or dinner, but here in Mexico, they eat it for breakfast. Very, very odd, but I've came to adjust, and I love it. So there's a new place in Versailles called Porco de Oro, and it is fantastic. Tacos de carnitas, and that's all they sell. Only thing that they sell on the menu is tacos de carnitas. 20 pesos per taco. You can't beat that.
No.
And handmade blue corn tortillas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat that either.
Fantastic. Dinner. A dinner place. If you're into eating small bites like tapas, just to enjoy some chatter with your friends, and you all can share your food together, there's a very new place that just recently opened called Mezcal y Sal. And they have some wonderful mixologists in there that make some great cocktails with mezcal and amazing small bite food to where you're able to have slow conversation, listen to some good music, have some amazing cocktails, and just eat some small bites to share with friends. What am I missing here? I have to give a shout out to Café de Artiste. This is an indulgence that everybody needs to know about. They just opened up a new place kind of right inside Café de Artiste on the side that's for pickup only, or they do delivery as well. And Wednesdays is the day to get it because it's 2 por 1, 2 for 1. And it is called Theory Prime Burger. And it is out of this world burgers. And you need to have friends to share this with, because you get 2 prime burgers made with USDA prime beef. And if you haven't had one of those burgers and you're craving something from north of the border, this will certainly satisfy your craving for a couple days.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Who knew? Okay, so Thierry has been working on delivery, on to-go, huh?
He's delivering through Uber. You can't get the 2-for-1 special through Uber Eats.
Yeah.
You have to go there and pick up, or they will do personal delivery, but you got to pay based on the location. And it's usually about 60 pesos for the delivery.
Not bad. Yeah,
Not
that's
bad
like
at all.
$3.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, those are all great. I mean, I had no idea about what they're doing over there at Café des Artistes. That's pretty cool. If you were going to leave town for a day and just go off and come back the same day, where would you go?
Come back. This is a same-day trip, not
Same-day
an
trip.
overnighter.
Yep.
I'd have to say San Pancho, San Francisco. It's easy to get to. It's just about 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes more past Sayulita. And Sayulita was a town that I truly fell in love with when I first came here. I actually tried to get my wife to move there, but she was like, "This is going to get very small, very quick."
Yeah. What
which
was
she's
she
now.
write?
She's
Does she read tea leaves too? What's going on?
what's that?
Does she read tea leaves too? What's going on?
Exactly. But San Francisco, San Pancho is a lot like what Sayulita was when we first came to Vallarta almost 7 years ago.
Okay.
And I hope they preserve a little bit of that. It's very eclectic. They have some amazing restaurants. They have a beach that you can escape to that's not overran by these monstrosity hotels and tall condominium buildings and tons of beach vendors or anything like that. It's just a very relaxing afternoon to where you could easily do it with a day trip.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's beautiful. So beautiful there. And, yeah, well, it's kind of like Vallarta of old, you know?
I wish I would have seen Vallarta back then, but unfortunately, I didn't get to experience Vallarta when it was like that.
It might be better that you didn't. All right, so if you were going to go for 3 days, where would you go if you had a 3-day excursion?
Depending on the season. During those hot and sweaty, sweltering months of July, August, Septiembre, I would escape to San Sebastian and go up in elevation and slow down a little bit and enjoy some amazing coffee and probably one of the best micheladas with an ensalada on top I've ever had in the public square right there. It's just a great place. They have some amazing Airbnbs up there, and the temperature is just night and day compared to Vallarta during that time of the year. If it's non-rainy season, my escape is south to Maito Tewa Mixle, and I always stay at the Hotel Riconcito, and it is the epitome of just what you imagine Mexico is without ever being to Mexico. You satisfy that quench for Mexico when you go down there.
Definitely. And El Rinconcito, great place. And the food there is terrific.
Well,
right?
it's just it's a family environment to where you eat a family meal. You're not eating off a menu. It's just like they serve breakfast, they serve dinner. You're on your own for lunch, and it's a community meal. You know, and everybody. And the coolest thing about that place is they have an honor system for their payments to where it can be good or it could be bad because you stay there for a couple days and then you get to see what you did for the last 3 days. It's like, I had 20 beers?
Yeah, not hard, brother.
Not hard at all.
No, definitely not. Those are great. Choices. And that michelada over in the square over in San Sebastian is world famous.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
Yes, it is.
If you had a word of advice for a first-time visitor to Puerto Vallarta, what would it be? Other than making sure you get yourself some traveler's insurance.
Slow down and be patient. It's just different. And the longer that you try to fight that, the longer you're going to have to adjust. This is not where you came from. This is Mexico, and it truly is just on its own pace. And mañana is not an understatement.
Yeah, exactly. And mañana doesn't always mean mañana. Do you have a word of warning? Any word of warning for somebody coming here for the first time, or even just any time?
A word of warning. Make sure you look down while you're walking. Because if you don't, you might fall to these cobbles and these broken sidewalks and have a terrible injury. You always got to pay attention. Pedestrians don't typically have the right of way, so you gotta be on your toes and your what's that saying? Be on your heads and your toes. I don't know.
Or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, be ready.
Be ready.
Be darn ready.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm sure in your business, that's probably a majority of what kind of calls you get. People that fall down, right?
Polytrauma or trauma to the bones is definitely second. That's our second.
But what's the first?
Usually heart-related issues.
Oh, okay. All right. The ticker.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. All right. You hear that? Exercise,
So
everybody.
make sure
hit the gym, for Christ's sake.
Make sure you get off your blood pressure medication and your cholesterol statins, and before you file for insurance.
Ooh, all right. Another big tip. This is good. This is why we have Brett here today. All right. Let's go back. Let's go back to insurance here for just a minute. How do people find you?
I would say the easiest way to find me is to email me or WhatsApp. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me is by email or just give me a call. Okay. I don't mind picking up the phone, and a broker never has a day off because we always have to be there for the client. So my phone's always ready. I would say that's the best way to reach me. Other than that, going to my business Facebook page or my personal Facebook page is always a great way. I always am a very responsive via Messenger on my business page or Messenger on my personal page. And soon, our parent company has just acquired expatinsurance.com, which will soon be released. We're making a transition from weexpats.com over to expatinsurance.com.
Much better URL.
Much better brand.
Yeah.
But I'm an independent broker here in Vallarta. I'm not really attached to any company per se. I have the ability to shop with many different insurance providers, but my affiliations here in Puerto Vallarta is Novamar, which is the office is located in between the marina and the airport. And I can have meetings in my office at the Novamar building at any time if a client likes to request a meeting in a formal setting. Or in San Miguel de Allende, that's where the We Expats headquarters is. So we can service you from any way you like, whether it be email, telephone, WhatsApp, text message, or through my quote page online.
Excellent. Okay, and I'll have all that information. You can find it, of course, for this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show at www.puertovallartatravel.com. And you'll find all that there. You'll find some pictures of Brett. You'll find, I don't know. I don't know if I'll have pictures of people having heart attacks or anything like that. But I will have something there to make it interesting to look at because, all we're doing here is we're just a couple of guys. We don't have a restaurant or any pretty pictures to show. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
And
it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for letting me introduce you and Novamar and We Expats to our listeners. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks again. And I look forward to having any of you contact me, and I'm glad to help.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Brett. Thanks for all that information. That's great info. And I have links to the things that Brett talked about. And if you need to get a hold of Brett for anything at all, I've got all of his information in the show notes. So check him out for sure. All right? Okay. Well, that should do it for this week. I want you to stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us your message. And remember, if you are considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com. That's JR's website. and reserve your tour through him. And by the way, thank you so much. There are people that are reserving their tours through JR, and we're very, very excited. Keep it up, please. Remember, this is a value for value proposition. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were going to use someone else. So do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending us a message. And don't forget his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more. And I have links to all of those in the show notes as well. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time and subscribe and give me a good review wherever you happen to be listening to this podcast. Or better yet, share it with a friend. Maybe make them come to Puerto Vallarta and fall in love, just like you did. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, you really need to have a look there. I have links of places that we talk about and interesting pictures and more, all right there in the blog posts and in the show notes for each episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't already. All right? All right. Thank you, Brett Lamar of We Expats Insurance and Novamar Insurance Mexico. I have all of his contact information. Remember, you need to cover your rear end whenever you travel to Mexico. Get yourself some good traveler's insurance. And when you're living here, think about covering yourself for a little bit of health care too. Get a hold of Brett or wherever you happen to get your insurance coverage. And remember, I want to thank you guys, each and every one of you, for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta, samba de Puerto Vallarta.